All right, so taking a look at this Xantrax inverter, initial complaint was somehow there used to be a 300 amp fuse right there, and the inverter stopped working, and the customer was told that the fuse was blown, which it was. It was a one of the little fuse brand 300 amp fuse, one-time use. It blows and then you throw it away. So normally those are hard to change. It used to bridge this connection and this connection. So I typically, whenever I can, I get rid of those fuses and I install a 300 amp breaker, which I did. Similarly, they have a 200 amp breaker right there. Okay, so pretty simple install. You have your line coming in that is rerouted to the line on the breaker, and then you have your load going out. I just used a black wire because this is the colors that I had, and this is the load for the system. And it's a lot of other electronics in here. This is a custom build. Anyway, while the unit was still plugged in to the shore power, the inverter would come on, cut off, come on, cut off. So I unplugged it so that it can run just off of the battery bank, and brought the customer over, showed her how to use the breaker when the lever is up and everything like that. And she started the engine, and before I can get my truck all loaded up, she smelled something burning, and this thing was smoking. So goes back to what I was thinking when I first came. Like, okay, they told her she had a blown fuse, and it was, but why did you blow a 300 amp fuse? There's something that caused the fuse to blow, and it couldn't be too much usage on the AC, because if you overload the inverter, it has breakers that it would trip. So it's a 30 amp inverter, and that's designed to protect itself. So if you hooked up, 10 coffee pots in here, the thing would trip the breaker on the inverter, and that would be it. But the fuse that blew is the fuse that links the inverter main line, this red line, to the 12 volt, and you can see where it says 300 amp fuse. So that's that wire. That's the fuse that blew. And even when I'm working on smaller circuits, I always insert a breaker, because fuses cost too much to keep replacing a bunch of fuses. Breakers can be reset. The funny thing is, when this thing started smoking, and I don't know why they're blocking the vents with this stuff on this inverter. I have no idea why they have that. That is part of the circulation for the air, but that's how they installed it. And she smelled something, and it was this thing right here. It's smoking. So this Xantrax has a short in it somewhere, and that's the problem. That's the problem that we have going on right now. What else is wrong? I don't know, because like I said, something had to have blown the 300 amp fuse. So at this point, I'm pretty sure the inverter is toast, because when an inverter starts smoking, something's wrong. And everything's hooked up properly. And you got your line coming in, going to the line side of the breaker. You got your load going out, going to the load side of the breaker. Same value as the fuse, 300 amps, 300 amps. Breaker never tripped. So this must be the line that goes from the battery through this 200 amp breaker to feed the solenoid, so that when the truck is running, this goes through the solenoid, and as you can see, it ends up right here to feed the 12 volt system. But something's going on inside of the inverter that has it smoking. Don't know if it's on the AC side or the DC side. Looks like how they're powering the AC system is. They're using this as AC in, which is why I unplugged the unit. And then the AC out is going to this guy, inverter output. And then all the other stuff that you see is daisy chained and plugged into there. I like the way they labeled everything in here. I don't know if I would have ran it like that. I wouldn't have ran it like that. I would have had the inverter going to a power distribution unit, the breaker box, and then I would have all the different outlets on different breakers, and that's typically how you would see this. The flashlight's not happy. That's a Coast flashlight, and hadn't last very long. The battery dies on it really quick. So anyway, that's what we got, guys. Typically when I do a diagnostic, which this wasn't a diagnostic, the way my company works is if you have a defined task that you want us to do, like change out a fuse, we'll do that. You know, you have already pre-diagnosed it, we'll change out the fuse. It's always, I mean, not always, because if you really know what's wrong, then you know what's wrong. But in this case, in many cases, kind of need to get the thing diagnosed because something made the fuse blow in the first place. And that might have been the true culprit. The end result was the 300 amp fuse blowing. And that's all on the DC side. And none of this is on the AC side, which I don't even see any breakers anywhere. This is breaker 1, breaker 2. I guess they have them built into those little outlets. I don't know. I don't see any resets. Well, I guess they have the little buttons on them, but I would use normal household breakers. I would not have built it like this. But anyway, that's what we got, guys. RV Tech Pro out.